Welcome to week 6. I hope that this message finds you having a good day. Personally, I've had a good day as I was able to go to the gym for a bit with some friends to get some much needed exercise. Hope that you're also taking the time to exercise. The cool thing about exercise in the gym is that it gives you the mental energy to carry out all the tasks that you have before you. It makes a world of difference. Let's get into this week, week 6. This week is brought to you by this week's fun fact. Check it out. This is our fun fact of the week. I was like, what? When I read this. A polar bear's fur isn't white. It's actually clear. Each hair is a transparent, hollow tube that appears white when light reflects off of it. Did you know that a polar bear hair was transparent and not white? I always thought it was white. I suppose that in such a place where the sun doesn't penetrate, you don't really see the sun so much. It's just a very white atmosphere, so there's a lot of white and glaciers and snow, so light is reflecting off of the transparent fur. That's wild. I had no idea. Wow. The more you learn. And that is our fun fact of this week. Now let's take a look at our syllabus to see our signposts for this week. As you can see here, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go to float on top. There we go. And move this a little bit. All right. So as you can see here, we have a writing workshop, our second writing workshop actually, for the Tech and Us paper. And in addition, we also have our first current event, which I'm going to explain just what that is in this video. So let's get into it. Let's get into our canvas. There we go. All right, so this is us, Module 6. Here is the peer review workshop. Now, just like the first peer review workshop, we will turn in the draft for this workshop by Thursday, this Thursday, which will be March 31st, by 11:59 p.m. Make sure to write at least 2 pages, just like the last one. Everything's the same there. And just like last time, the Canvas system will automatically distribute 3 drafts for you to look at from your classmates. And that's going to happen exactly 1 minute after the deadline. So it's going to happen right on Friday, April the 1st, right at 12 a.m., just like last time. Remember, it's important that you get that in on time because the Canvas system will only distribute drafts to those who submitted one in on time. So be mindful of that. Now, let's take a look at our workshop questions to consider. So, as you get your draft, I am going to ask you to bear these things in mind while you're looking at your classmates' draft. So, number 1, highlight your classmates' thesis. In this case, because the prompt does have a central question, which is, what is the role of technology in our current society? Then the student has to answer this question in their thesis. If not, then help them, perhaps after you read their draft, you can say, oh, okay, that's your response, it seems like. So help them make sure to clearly and explicitly state just what it is that they are saying in response to this question. Another one is the transition. So remember, you can't just abruptly jump from one topic to the next. Instead, you want to find a point of commonality to create that bridge between topics. And that's just as much within a paragraph as from one paragraph to the next. Another one too. Let's say your classmate is indeed calling upon an outside source for this, maybe for some statistics or just some data or information that they found somewhere. If it's something verbatim, then make sure that your classmate is using direct quotes for that, right? If they're paraphrasing it, then make sure that they are stating where the source is from, right? What is the name of the source, who is the author, and what type of source is it, of course. And then also, where are you seeing your classmates' draft as being strong? And what areas are you seeing that could use more work? And how can you recommend that they strengthen that? And if there's anything else as well, if you want to look at the logistics for just how this workshop will work, make sure to revisit the video for our first workshop where I outline the tools that Canvas allots us in order to provide feedback. So it'll be the same thing. It'll be the same thing for all of our essays. If you want to see just how it will look like from your end once you do receive the drafts, then go into announcements as I have it in there, the video for what it looks like. There it is, accessing peer reviews. I put the video in there. All right, I know you guys will do awesome, just like with your first paper. So happy writing and happy drafting. There's one more thing in this module, and that is our first current event. Now, a little preface for the current event is something that I continually reaffirm throughout not only this class, but throughout all my classes. And that is that writing does not exist in a vacuum. It's not static, but rather it's dynamic. Writing performs social action. What I mean by that is that writing does things. And you only need to pick up a Los Angeles Times newspaper and see writing doing things, performing social action. Everything from the first page that perhaps we have an expository piece about what's happening between Russia and maybe negotiations between world leaders and what to do about the belligerent Russia. So in this case, this piece of writing is exposing us to this information through this expository piece of writing. In addition, in the same newspaper, we can go to the editorial piece, editorial section. An editorial, by the way, is an opinion piece. Oftentimes, opinion pieces have an objective of wanting to persuade you of something. For example, let's say that you are reading something that is trying to persuade you to ditch that fossil fuel vehicle, especially these days, right? Having a car with gasoline, especially one with a big tank, is rough with gas being so expensive. So maybe the article is trying to persuade you to instead get an electric car. So again, notice that it's trying to do something. Another one, if you look at classifieds, maybe you're reading something that is trying to persuade you to rent an apartment. Maybe it's like, this is a beautiful Victorian apartment with enormous windows that let in natural light in a very quaint and quiet side of town with plenty of greenery. So see, the writer in that case is moving to persuade you to rent this apartment. So that's what we see in classifieds. They're trying to promote their goods or services. So this is what I mean by writing performing social action. Hey, even in the genre of the wedding invitation, right? The wedding invitation has as its objective, as its aim, getting people to come to the wedding, right? That's what the writing is doing in that case. So through and through, we always see writing doing things. So with that being said, this is an opportunity to really unearth and see just how that works. So in order to do so, I'm going to ask that you please select a current event article. Now, this can be about any topic, really, about anything that you care about, so long as it's from a credible source. So, hey, if you're into health, then maybe find an article that pertains to health, a current article. When I say current, try to go for at least maybe a month. Nothing old, right? In addition, when I say credible source, please don't bring in anything from, say, like National Enquirer about some celebrity giving birth to werewolf twins or anything like that. No, a credible source. And again, choose about a topic that you care about. If you're into music, then find an article about maybe a band that you like has released a new album or is on tour or something. If you're into makeup, what's happening in the world of makeup. If you're into technology, an article about what's happening in the world of technology, engineering, biology, whatever the case may be, whatever you're interested in. Sports, absolutely. Find an article about that. Just something that you care about. You're not going to choose an article about the fact that maybe golden ingots, the value of golden ingots is decreasing if the article bores you to tears. No, choose something that you care about. Okay, so that's it. So choose the article. Then what I want you to tell me is, well, what's it about? What's happening in the article? One. And then two, what is the writer trying to do through their piece? Remember how I said that writing performs social action? Are they trying to persuade you? Are they just informing you? Are they maybe presenting an argument for something where they want you to do something? I don't know. What is the piece trying to do? And then in addition, determine, okay, it's rhetorical work. So just when we say rhetorical work, first of all, rhetoric, it's the art of persuasion in speech or text. So I have this little worksheet here. Let's download it. So when we talk about writing wanting to do something, we look at these rhetorical devices that Aristotle created: logos, ethos, and pathos. He established these. So whenever and I have a little shortcut for you. The first three letters is a good way to remember just what these devices are doing, what sort of appeal they are calling upon. All of them except the last one has that shortcut. But what I wanted to say is, whenever a writer wants to achieve something, they have these rhetorical devices at their disposal in order to achieve this goal. So the first three letters in logos, it's an appeal to logic. So a lot of times when you see like numbers or charts or figures or statistics or some appeal to the intellect, then that's an appeal to logos. Let me get some water. 1 second, please. Okay, so logos and logic. So, for example, let's say you're reading a sports article. Maybe it's about why Mookie Betts is such an invaluable player for the Dodgers, why he's so important. So maybe the writer is using statistics like batting averages or runs batted in or something like that. If they're using numbers and statistics, then that's an appeal to logic. That's logos. Another one is ethos, which is an appeal to ethics. And like I said, what's helpful? Look at these first three letters, ethics. First of all, that word ethics, it looks at just how right something is, So, for example, in the science community, there's this big question. Okay, just how much should scientists be able to do? Is there a line that they should not cross because it's morally wrong to do so? Like, for example, cloning, right? Cloning has been this big thing. where opinions are split. Yes, it's ethical. No, it's not. So it's an explores right and wrong. For example, what if you are reading an article about how plastic rings are getting into the ocean? You know, those rings from the soda cans that hold them. Maybe it's trying to get you to see just how wrong it is that the poor turtles are, you know, being trapped in them and in the marine life, right? So that's an appeal to ethics. So this is ethos. Another thing that ethos does is that it establishes the credibility of a source, the credibility or value. I have a good example. So a few semesters ago in my class, we looked at the video of Martin Luther King delivering his I Have a Dream speech. And this was during the March on Washington in front of the Lincoln Memorial. And Reverend Martin Luther King was introduced like this. Ladies and gentlemen, our nation's moral leader, Reverend Martin Luther King. So you see, by establishing him as our nation's moral leader, it's like, hey, listen to this guy. What he has to say is of value. It's of worth. So that was an appeal to ethos. That was ethos. Now, the last one, like I said, this is the one that you have to remember because there's no little shortcut, trick to remember, but there is something I want you to know, and this is pathos. So when we look up the word pathos, look at this definition here from Merriam-Webster. The word pathos means suffering, experience, or emotion. Suffering, experience, or emotion. Okay, so I think of somebody suffering because they are experiencing so much emotion that they can't control themselves. I think of somebody who is hysterical. To be hysterical means to be controlled by your emotions. So maybe somebody is so angry that they're yelling, they're punching holes in the wall, they're destroying things, and they can no longer rationally think things out. Another one, maybe somebody is so sad that they are just catatonic. They've allowed their emotion to take hold of them. So that's what I think of. I think of, okay, somebody who is suffering from emotion, somebody hysterical. So that's what the Greek word pathos means. And that is an appeal to emotion. So, have you ever seen those infomercials or commercials that show you maybe a really sad and skinny puppy or a really sad and skinny child, and they want you to donate money and they're tugging at your heartstrings? They want you to feel a certain way. That's pathos. That's an appeal to emotion. So whether your writer of your article is using logos, ethos, or pathos, or maybe a combination of them all, pay attention to that. Perhaps there are some buzzwords that they're using that are moving to make you feel a certain way, then you know that's pathos. Maybe they're trying to intellectually see the logic or rationale behind something, then that's an appeal to logic through logos. That's logos. So pay attention to that, how right or wrong, that's ethos. And then also reaffirming the credibility of the author, that's ethos. So with that, pay attention to your story. So number one, remember, it has to be a written article. So no videos, it has to be written, because this is a writing composition class, right? Here, let me move this. Okay, so let's say you find a video and you're like, I want to use this video. Hey, maybe you can actually find an article, a written version of whatever that story is in your video. But please find an article, something current and from a credible source. And I want you to tell me, what's it about? You know, what's happening? Who's affected? Also tell me, what is the purpose of the piece? Like, what is the writer trying to do? And then how do they do that? Are they using certain buzzwords? Try to throw in this newfound understanding of rhetorical devices. So how are they moving to achieve their objective? And in addition, your reaction, right? We're not just reporting, but you're connecting and engaging with it. So, what's your reaction? Why do you care? Obviously, you chose the story, so you were drawn to it, right? Does it affect you? How does it make you feel? What does it mean on a global scale, if at all? So, not all stories, but some do have global implications, like negotiations or talks pertaining to, say, like nuclear armament or something that affects us all. Some stories do have global implications, but not all. So these are the guiding questions to help orient you, but that's the main thing I want you to see. I want you to tell me what's happening in the article. What's the writer trying to do? Like, what's their objective? How are they carrying out that objective? And then respond and react to it. And this is going to be at least 2 pages, double spaced, MLA, of course. And here are some student samples that you can check out if you want to see what potential versions of these assignments could look like. And this is due April 3rd, so that's Sunday, right? And that is what we have for this week, and that is how we will be doing our current event assignments. Other than that, I wish you a lovely week. I know that it's going to be a bit cooler this week. In fact, it's going to rain, so that's cool. So stay cool and see you next time, guys.